Okay, the ingredients we're gonna need for the Chinese pork and lettuce wraps. This is about 1 pound of ground pork. We're gonna need soy sauce, oil, brown sugar, dried shallots. This is dried shiitake mushroom that I just soaked in boiling water for about 40 minutes, and then I squeeze them dry and I chop them really fine, and I'm gonna reserve the water. This is about 2 tablespoons of dried shrimp. You can also use dried scallops, but I didn't have any of those. And I did the same exact thing with this water over here. I soak them, squeeze them dry, and they're so tiny that you actually don't even need to chop those. This is about 1.5 tablespoons of minced ginger. And then, of course, we're going to need some kind of lettuce. I like to use butter lettuce because it has a nice round shape and it's very, very delicate, and I think it's just really, really nice to eat. And excuse the sound of my voice. I have a pretty bad cold right now that I'm struggling with. And I also want to let you know that this recipe was inspired by You Can Cook Gourmet on YouTube. Her name is Joyce. She's a Chinese American, and she does some really, really great food. And I changed some things up a bit, but I got the idea from her. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so in a large bowl, this part is pretty easy. We're just going to go ahead and add the minced ginger. And I also forgot to mention that I'm using potato starch as well as a thickener. And I just need a little bit of that. Probably about 1/2 teaspoon, I'd say. Soy sauce. I'm going to be using probably about 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. And I'm going to do a pinch of sugar. And you could use regular sugar, but I like to use brown sugar. I think it adds a little bit more depth. Add a little bit of oil as well, probably just about 1 teaspoon. And that's it, nice and simple. And we're going to give this a mix, and we're going to mix it really well. So I'll show you the next step when I come back. Okay, so the wok is nice and hot, ready for the mushrooms and the shrimp to go in. So we're just going to get a little bit of oil in there. And we're just going to saute this for about 3 minutes. Okay, so it's been about 3 minutes, and the next step is to add a little bit of, this is the mushroom cooking water, and I'm just adding about 1/2 cup. Go ahead and cover this and let that cook for about 1.5 minutes. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes. And we're actually going to remove this. So it got almost rehydrated. The mushrooms and shrimp are nice and plump and delicious looking. All right, and we're going to add a little bit more oil. Just about 1 teaspoon. Swirl it around. You definitely want a hot, hot wok, as hot as you can get it. Now we're going to add the pork. And we kind of want it to brown a bit, so we're just going to leave it alone for about 1 minute and then flip it over. Here I just made a thickening sauce. So all I did was I combined about 1/2 cup of water, 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1.5 teaspoons of potato starch, a pinch of the brown sugar, and I'm also going to do 1 tablespoon of these dried shallots. And I just like the way the dried shallots taste. They're really rich in flavor, and I think that they'll be a nice addition to everything else. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And the ground pork that I'm using is very fatty. It's actually pork shoulder from my friend who is the farmer. I asked him to grind me up some pork shoulder, so I think it's going to be really, really good and very rich as well. And I might even skim off some of the fat on top because that's, you know, not really necessary. So I'm just going to keep cooking this and I'll show you the next. All right, so the pork is almost cooked through. It's looking really good. And now we're going to add the mushrooms and dried shrimp back in. Give that a little mix. Smells great. I also skimmed off some of that fat. But if you get leaner ground pork, you probably won't have to do that. I'm going to add a little bit more of this mushroom liquid. And I'm going to cover this, and I'm going to cook it for about 3 minutes. And then I'll show you the next step. Okay, it's been about 2 or 3 minutes. And last but not least, oh, it looks so good. Haven't changed the stove temp. I've kept it on high the whole time. Add this marinade. And it's going to make everything nice and it's going to thicken up. And I saved a little bit because I don't want to add so much. So I'm just, because you don't want it to be like too liquidy, because it's going to go in the lettuce wraps. And just kind of wait until this thickens up and then it's going to be ready to serve. So I'll show you what that looks like.